Will you describe for me the house you grew up in here in Carmel?
As to the house I grew up in, my parents, I understand, first lived on a log cabin overlooking Pescadero Canyon, which is actually on my paper out later. But they rented at the corner of Dolores and Fifth, the northwest corner, from Eric Schmidt of Ione, California. There were 3 cottages there. We stayed in the larger one, and this was all on one lot. And then Effie Mead, who was the telephone lady for Carmel, and her son Orville lived in a small, even smaller cottage, and then Carl Holm lived in back. And across the street, this is Katy Corner from where the post office is now.
Right.
And across the street, and this is relevant because Tiny Wormuth lived there. And she is in the Sunset School kindergarten graduating class of 39, and I'll see her this afternoon. From Fifth and Dolores, after we got to Carmel Inn, it included a very small cottage and about 4 lots, all told, I guess. And we lived in that cottage, and it is now the Treehouse Restaurant.
Okay.
And it's still, the property is still owned by my brother and I.
What were your family's economic circumstances? Do you remember times when money was tight, or?
It was pretty tight during the war. The rooms were like $3 and $6, and one vignette during the war, the police came. Apparently, a gal had set up shop, and there were a bunch of four-door soldiers in a line outside the Carmel Inn. But no, we got by. My dad had a good job as an electrician. And I remember when I went to Stanford my first year, we had to put down salary of parents to be able to get a job. You had to have a low enough salary, and that was around $7,000, I think.
What were your duties around the house as a child?
I probably just played most of the time. No, we would wash the dishes, and we'd fight over who got to wash and who got to dry, my brother and I.
What activities did your family do together?
Well, every summer we would go to Pinecrest, and we towed a little trailer behind the car, and he'd set up camp in Pinecrest, where Strawberry Lake is, 30 miles above Sonora, and he'd spend a week with us and build what they called a peeping Tom protector around the camp. It's burlap. Everybody did it about 7 feet high or so. And so we would stay there, and then my dad would, after the first week, go back to work, and then a few weeks later he'd come back and pick us up. Those were wonderful years. And we'd also go to White Rock Lake every now and then as a guest of either the Wetzels or somebody else.
Did you have any hobbies?
I had a hobby, and that I guess really started in Norway, and that was stamp collecting. And I think there were at least 2 stamp places in Carmel, and coin collecting. That was very common among the kids, and I saved pennies, and I would go around to the store and ask them to give me 10, pennies for a dime or something, and Then I remember at one store, grocery store on a very small one, I can't think of the name of it right now, just down from Stanford's drugstore. They just gave me their penny box and I could go through. So pennies and stamps and what other hobbies? I don't know. Playing. Oh, and well, we could go down and in high school we had a terrific teacher called Miss Larson, Enid Larson, and she instilled when our class gets together, we talk of memorable teachers, and she's the one. So we would go down to tide pools. That was another thing we did. And there were different shells that, I forget the name of them, and Miss Larson would be upset. We learned the names of all the shells and other things we could see in tide pools. And you can make a necklace. Let's see, what else? All boys would try to get jobs as soon as they could. I had Route C2 of Monterey Peninsula Herald. I started from everything from Ocean to Pescadero Canyon, from the beach, the dunes. I started up at San Carlos, but there were just too many papers that I could carry. You had a bag in front and a bag in back, and if you got good at it while you're riding your bike, when this one would start to choke you, you could flip it around like that. That was a special talent that I had, and other boys did. Anyway, then it moved down to Monteverde, so I had that route when I was around 11, 12. Then I worked in the Standard Station one summer at, well, I worked at Blewett's first, which was the soda fountain. I thought that'd be cool. And the structure of Blewett's is still there on the, across from Stanford's drugstore on the southeast corner of Ocean and San Carlos. And, but then I didn't come home till late. And my parents wanted to know what happened, and they said, just, your work is through at 5. I said, yeah, but I had to swab down everything. And he said, but you're not getting paid for that. Now, my dad was an electrician and a staunch member of the IBEW, International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, and he said, that's not legal. Anyway, then I got a job next door. That was only a few days that I worked there at the Standard Station. And then another job, that was one summer. Another summer was with Hugh Smith Tree Service. And he had a cabin to the, on San Lucia Ridge, which you used to be able to see from everywhere, Carmel. And you'd see his light at night. But we'd, Art Herber's dad was one of those. They would climb trees back then. They had these things on their ankles that they'd wear, and they'd climb up the tree. And we, the ground crew, Hans Stillman worked with me. He was in my class. We'd throw a rope. They'd have a rope around a branch, and we would then let the branch down after it fell. And this was often right among houses. You had to be very careful. And then we'd buck up the wood, which just means cutting it up into firewood size.